Welcome. Today, we're going to be exploring the powerful concluding verses of Surah Ali Imran, from Ayah 176 all the way to 200. This section is just packed with profound messages of divine comfort. It clarifies why trials are a certainty in life, and most importantly, it lays out a clear path to what really counts as success. So here's a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to walk through 5 key themes that really build on each other. It's a journey that'll take us from understanding divine reassurance all the way to grasping the clear commands for how to achieve salvation. All right, let's dive right into our first section. It kicks off with a direct address to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's meant to offer him comfort and perspective when faced with people who are literally racing towards disbelief. Right off the bat, these opening verses set a powerful, reassuring tone. The message is crystal clear. Don't let the frantic efforts of those who reject faith cause you any grief. Why? Because their actions can never, ever harm Allah's plan. All they're really doing is sealing their own fate, making sure they get no share of good in the hereafter and instead face a massive punishment. So you might look at someone who disbelieves and see them enjoying all kinds of worldly success, and you might wonder, why? Well, verse 178 explains this incredible concept of divine respite. This extra time, this extension of resources, it's not a sign that Allah is pleased with them. It's actually more like a long rope that allows them to wander further and further, accumulating more sin, which ultimately leads to an even more humiliating end. Okay, so if respite is for the disbelievers, what about the hardships that believers face? This verse explains a really crucial principle. Allah doesn't want the community of believers to just be a jumbled mix of the sincere and the hypocrites. But his method isn't to just, reveal the secrets of everyone's hearts. Instead, he sends trials and tests that, through real-world experience, distinguish the pure from the impure, the good from the evil. This brings us to the commentary on verse 180, which warns against being stingy. And wow, it just powerfully reframes our whole relationship with wealth. It's not ours, it's a temporary trust, a kind of custodianship. To hoard what actually belongs to Allah is described as foolish because that very wealth you're clinging to becomes this crushing burden like a collar around your neck in the hereafter. The wise person gets this and spends in Allah's way. Now the Quran gets very specific, recording and decisively refuting the arrogant claims of some from the people of the book. When they were asked to give a goodly loan to Allah, they actually mocked the idea, saying, "Wait, is Allah poor now that he needs to borrow from us?" This verse confirms that Allah heard their blasphemy. It also completely dismantles their excuse for rejecting the Prophet, peace be upon him, their claim that he didn't bring a special sacrifice consumed by heavenly fire, by reminding them that they rejected and even killed previous prophets who came with that exact sign. Okay, let's move on to our next section. We're kind of shifting gears a bit now. The focus moves from specific historical groups to these universal, unshakable truths. And these truths, well, they apply to every single one of us, and they really set the stage for what the Quran defines as real success. So what is true success? Verse 185 lays it out plain and simple. It's not about your wealth, your status, or your power in this world. True success, al-Fawz, is one thing and one thing only: to be saved from the hellfire and entered into paradise. Everything else this world has to offer is described as mata'ul gurur, the enjoyment of delusion. Right after defining true success, the very next verse hits you with this stark reality. The language here is so emphatic. You will surely be tested. This isn't a maybe, it's a guarantee. The tests will come in your finances, in your own bodies through hardship, and you will definitely hear a lot of abuse from your opponents. But the verse doesn't just leave you there. It gives you the strategy, patience, and piety. And I just think this is a brilliant illustration of the high moral standard that's required. When you're faced with all these verbal attacks and propaganda, the divine instruction isn't to fight fire with fire. No, it's to rise above it, to refuse to get down in the mud with the attackers, and to respond instead with the unwavering dignity that comes from patience and consciousness of God. So this brings us to a really critical question, right? If the path of a believer is guaranteed to have all these hardships, and the world itself is just a deceptive enjoyment, then where on earth do you find the strength? How do you anchor your heart and find the conviction you need to keep going? Well, the Quran itself answers this in the very next verses. The answer, it turns out, is in reflection. This next section introduces us to a really special group of people, the ulul albab. You could translate it as those who possess cores, or, more simply, those with deep understanding. Their strength comes from a totally different way of seeing the world around them. See, the wise don't just look at the universe, they truly reflect on it.
They observe the perfect, intricate system of the heavens and the earth, the constant alternation of night and day, and they see them not as random occurrences, but as profound signs. And this deep thinking leads them to one powerful conclusion. This can't all be for nothing. And that realization immediately inspires a heartfelt prayer for protection from the fire.
You know, when you have that kind of deep, meaningful reflection, the next natural step is prayer. This next set of verses just beautifully captures both the comprehensive prayer of these wise people and Allah's swift, loving, and absolute answer to them. Just notice the beautiful structure of their prayer. It starts by affirming their faith. We heard the call of the messenger, and we believed. From that solid foundation of faith, they moved to seeking forgiveness for their shortcomings and purification from their misdeeds. And finally, they ask Allah to fulfill the promises He made through His messengers, not because they doubt, but out of a sincere and deep hope to be among those who receive them. And the response from Allah? It's immediate and it's profound. The verse actually begins with fa istajaba, which means so He responded, implying this incredible swiftness. And the promise is absolute. I will never allow the work of any worker among you to be lost. It then explicitly says that gender is irrelevant, male or female, you are all from one another. And for those who sacrificed, who emigrated, who fought for His cause, the reward is total forgiveness and entry into paradise. All right, we're coming to our final section, the grand finale of this surah. It brings everything to a powerful conclusion by drawing one last, stark contrast between the fleeting fun of this world and the eternal reward of the next. And it all culminates in 4 clear, direct commands for how to achieve that success. Just look at the contrast here. It's so stark. The apparent success of the disbelievers is just dismissed as a brief enjoyment, and their final destination, a wretched resting place. But on the other hand, those with taqwa, that consciousness of their Lord, they're promised an eternal home in beautiful gardens, a welcoming accommodation directly from Allah Himself. But the Quran is very nuanced here, and this is so important. It makes a clear distinction. It acknowledges sincerity wherever you find it. Verse 199 clarifies that. Yes, among the people of the book, there are individuals who truly believe in Allah with humility, who believe in what was revealed to them and in what was revealed to Prophet Muhammad. And they don't sell Allah's verses for a cheap price. Their reward is with their Lord. And it all comes down to this. The entire surah finishes with this powerful, actionable command in verse 200. It's a 4-step framework for achieving falah, or true success. First, isbiru, be patient with your own personal trials. Second, sabiru, outdo your opponents in perseverance, have more patience than them. Third, rabitu, be stationed, remain vigilant and ready to defend the truth. And fourth, the foundation for it all, ittaqallah, maintain that constant consciousness and reverence for Allah in absolutely everything you do. And that really is the final thought. These verses aren't just a history lesson or some theological theory. They are a timeless guide, a manual for life. The challenge for us is to take this 4-part command and actively apply it. How will we in our own lives embody patience, outdo others in perseverance, remain stationed in the cause of truth, and maintain our consciousness of Allah through all of our own daily trials? That's the question this amazing surah leaves us with.